All right, gather round, darlings, because we're not just delving deep into the royal family today. We're scraping the bottom of the barrel with a shovel, unearthing the kind of exquisite mess that only the Windsors can deliver. Poor King Charles III, bless his freshly crowned head, finds himself drowning in a puddle of his own family's making, a situation so utterly pathetic it almost brings a tear to the eye. Of laughter, of course. We're talking about the never-ending, utterly exhausting shadow cast by his younger brother, Prince Andrew, the Duke of York, and the truly spectacular lengths Charles might have to go to just to keep the crown from looking like a cheap novelty hat. This isn't merely a family squabble. Oh no, this is a full-blown prime-time disaster movie, threatening to drag the entire institution through the kind of mud that even a tabloid editor dreams of. Now, before we revel in the unfolding chaos, if you enjoy watching the mighty fall, do yourselves a favour. Smash that like button and subscribe, because frankly, our insights are the only thing keeping this whole charade remotely entertaining. Let's be real, Charles, still dusting off the throne, is perpetually stuck cleaning up after a scandal that just refuses to die. It's like a bad penny, or perhaps a particularly persistent rash, relentlessly clinging to Prince Andrew and, by association, his former but not really former sister-in-law, Sarah Ferguson. The whole sordid affair, as we all fondly recall, is inextricably linked to their utterly baffling, deeply problematic connection with the late, great Jeffrey Epstein. That man's ghost, dripping with depravity, still haunts the hallowed halls of Windsor, demanding a resolution that not only delivers justice, but more importantly, keeps the monarchy from becoming a global punchline. For those of you who've been living under a rock, or perhaps just enjoying a life free of royal drama, let's quickly rewind the tape. Andrew's public life imploded with all the grace of a collapsing souffle, thanks to persistent allegations of sexual assault and his, shall we say, enthusiastic association with Virginia Giuffre. He, of course, denied everything with the conviction of a child caught with his hand in the cookie jar, but the damage was done. By January 2022, facing a looming lawsuit and a public baying for blood, Queen Elizabeth II, clearly fed up, stripped him of his military titles and royal patronages. No more His Royal Highness for our disgraced Duke, just plain old Andrew like a commoner, but with a significantly larger trust fund. A multi-million-dollar settlement later, and the legal proceedings were technically over, but the public's questions? Oh, those are still bubbling away like a festering wound, and the media, bless their relentless hearts, haven't forgotten a single lurid detail. It was a seismic shift, a truly extraordinary move by a monarch to distance the family from a senior royal who had become a walking, talking public relations nightmare. And then there's Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York, who, despite divorcing Andrew in '96, has clung to him like a barnacle to a shipwreck. They still share royal lodge, presenting a united front that frankly looks more like a hostage situation. Her own Epstein connections, though perhaps less directly scandalous than Andrew's, have always been a source of quiet discomfort, like a persistent itch in an awkward place. But now, dear readers, that quiet discomfort has erupted into a full-blown media inferno, thanks to a series of emails from Fergie to Epstein dating back to 2011, which have, rather inconveniently for the monarchy, resurfaced. These little gems, now splashed across every front page, have caused considerable consternation. In them, Fergie, in a moment of unparalleled judgment, appears to apologise to Epstein. And for what, you ask? For publicly downing him as her supreme friend. Supreme friend, people, you can practically hear the collective gasp across the nation. Given what we now know about Epstein and his truly depraved activities, to apologise for distancing oneself from him and to refer to him with such sickening familiarity raises more questions than a poorly written murder mystery about judgment, awareness, the true extent of their relationship. Honestly, it's enough to make you wonder what planet they're living on. This delightful revelation naturally has piled yet more pressure onto King Charles. The royal family's strategy, for years, has been pure ostrich. Bury your head, hope it all blows over, and pray Andrew becomes a forgotten footnote. These resurfaced emails, however, have not just undermined that strategy, they've blown it to smithereens. They scream of continued association, or at the very least, a sentiment towards Epstein from a member of the extended royal family that is utterly incompatible with the monarchy's desperate need to maintain an unimpeachable moral standing. Good luck with that, Charles. Now, against this backdrop of renewed scrutiny and public nausea, the whispers are deafening. King Charles III might actually be contemplating a truly decisive and frankly unprecedented action to finally cut the cord with both Prince Andrew and the Yorks. The rumour mill suggests that Prince Andrew's membership in the prestigious Order of the Garter, Britain's oldest and most ridiculously exclusive chivalric club, is reportedly at significant risk. Let's take a moment to understand the profound significance of the Garter, shall we? This isn't just a fancy badge, it's a sacred relic of British history, tradition, and royal prerogative. Founded by some chap named Edward III in 1348, it's the absolute pinnacle of the British honour system, predating even the concept of a national honour. Its motto, Honi soit qui mal y pense, shame on him who thinks evil of it, now sounds like a cruel joke, doesn't it? Membership is a personal gift from the sovereign, bestowed without prime ministerial advice, making it extra special and deeply symbolic, representing the monarch's direct nod of approval. The order is limited to the sovereign, the Prince of Wales, and a mere 24 companion knights or ladies, plus a few stranger knights, foreign monarchs, how quaint, and royal knights, like our dear Andrew, appointed by his mum, Queen Elizabeth II, in 2006. The pageantry is breathtaking, apparently. Every June, these knights and ladies, draped in magnificent velvet robes and hats adorned with feathers, parade around Windsor Castle, culminating in a service at St. George's Chapel, a glorious spectacle of tradition, loyalty, and the enduring power of the monarchy. For Prince Andrew, his continued membership and the right to wear that garter star and robes represent the last, highly visible, utterly pathetic vestige of his former status and connection to the heart of royal ceremonial life. To strip him of this honour would be to sever one of the deepest, most symbolically painful threads connecting him to the institutional monarchy. You can practically hear the teacups rattling from sheer rage at Royal Lodge. However, such a drastic measure, while undoubtedly appealing to those of us who demand a complete, utter and public annihilation of his royal connections, comes with its own set of profound risks. Royal expert Richard Fitzwilliams, a man who clearly enjoys watching the Windsors squirm, has issued a stark warning. Such a move, he contends, could backfire dramatically. He explicitly stated that revoking Andrew's honorary title could risk bringing the royal family into disrepute. Disrepute? As if they haven't already redefined the term. Why would such a decisive action, seemingly aimed at protecting the monarchy's pristine reputation, actually endanger it? Fitzwilliams's argument hinges on the historical precedent, or rather, the glorious lack thereof. He points out that Garter membership revocations have occurred only in extremis, a fancy Latin phrase for when things are truly, utterly, irrevocably screwed. Historically, these extreme circumstances have almost exclusively been associated with wartime treason, when allegiances are irrevocably broken, and national security is, actually paramount. To provide context for just how rare and grave such a decision would be, imagine this. The last time a Garter knight was booted from the order was during the tumultuous period of the Second World War. The individual in question? None other than Emperor Hirohito of Japan. He was appointed in 1921 as a gesture of Anglo-Japanese alliance. How sweet. But after Japan decided to wage war against the Allies and commit truly horrific atrocities, his membership was revoked in 1941 as an act of profound symbolic condemnation. It was a measure taken in the midst of a global conflict, a direct consequence of a nation declaring war on Britain. Even then, after the war, in a truly baffling act of reconciliation, his Garter membership was reinstated by Queen Elizabeth II in 1971 during a state visit. Honestly, you couldn't make this up. The comparison with Emperor Hirohito underscores the truly extraordinary nature of what King Charles might be considering. Prince Andrew's situation, while undeniably scandalous and damaging, does not, by any stretch of the imagination, fall into the category of wartime treason or a head of state actively engaged in hostilities against the United Kingdom. If King Charles were to remove Andrew from the Garter, he would be setting a precedent for a scandal-driven revocation, a move that could be perceived as punitive to an unprecedented degree. Fitzwilliams's concern about disrepute could stem from several angles, all equally amusing. Firstly, it might be seen as an act of excessive harshness, potentially generating sympathy for Prince Andrew, even among those who have condemned his past actions. Sympathy for Andrew! Somewhere, a puppy just burst into tears. The public might question whether further stripping of honours is truly necessary, or if it crosses a line into what could be interpreted as vindictiveness. Secondly, it could reignite the entire media frenzy surrounding Andrew, pulling the royal family back into an endless cycle of negative headlines, just as they are striving for stability and positive public perception. Every discussion about the Garter revocation would inevitably circle back to the Epstein scandal, keeping the wounds fresh and the questions gloriously unanswered. Thirdly, it could be seen as breaking a long-standing royal tradition of familial loyalty, however strained. While Charles has demonstrated a clear intent to protect the institution, there's a delicate balance to be struck between institutional duty and family ties. A delicate balance indeed, when one of those ties is a walking disaster. Moreover, the complete and utter removal of Prince Andrew from the royal fold, particularly through such a high-profile and symbolically potent act as stripping his Garter membership, would represent a truly historic and unprecedented decision for King Charles III. It would signal a departure from the traditional approach of managing royal controversies, which often prioritises a degree of quiet containment over public shaming. Imagine public shaming. It would send a clear, unequivocal message that the new monarch is prepared to take exceptional measures to safeguard the integrity of the crown, even if it means profoundly reshaping the role and status of his own brother. This decision would not only affect Prince Andrew, but would also send a powerful message about King Charles's vision for the monarchy, a monarchy that perhaps values public trust and moral rectitude above all else, even traditional family loyalty. It aligns with the oft-discussed concept of a slimmed-down monarchy, where only working royals are afforded public honours and privileges. If Andrew were stripped of the Garter, it would effectively be the final ceremonial nail in the coffin of his royal life, leaving him with no official connection to the institution beyond his birthright as a son of the late Queen. How utterly tragic! The implications for public perception are enormous. While many would applaud such a move as a necessary step towards accountability and modernising the monarchy's image, Others might view it as a harsh, perhaps even cruel act against a family member. Charles, darling, walks a tightrope, balancing the demands of public opinion, the need to protect the ancient institution he now leads, and the complex, deeply personal bonds of family. This ongoing saga is a profound test for the new reign. It asks fundamental questions about the role of the monarchy in contemporary society, the boundaries of royal privilege, and the unwavering demand for accountability, even from the highest echelons of power. King Charles's decision regarding Prince Andrew's future, particularly his membership in the Order of the Garter, will undoubtedly be scrutinised by historians and the public alike for generations to come. It's a moment pregnant with significance, a fork in the road that could redefine the relationship between the Crown and its members for decades. In conclusion, the resurfacing of Sarah Ferguson's emails to Jeffrey Epstein has reignited a deeply uncomfortable chapter for the royal family, placing King Charles III in an acutely challenging position. The speculation surrounding Prince Andrew's potential removal from the Order of the Garter underscores the gravity of the situation and the monarch's perceived need to protect the institution's reputation. However, as royal expert Richard Fitzwilliams so dramatically warns, such an unprecedented action, while perhaps seen as decisive, carries the very real risk of backfiring and drawing the monarchy into further disrepute given the extreme historical rarity of such revocations. This delicate balancing act between tradition, public perception, and familial duty is a defining challenge for King Charles's reign. So, what do you think of this absolute farce? Should Charles finally put Andrew out of his misery, garter and all? Or is it all just too much drama for one family? Spill the tea in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more deliciously venomous royal analyses, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next glorious update. Ta-ta for now.